The alarms began long before the human ship appeared. Commander Shell of the Varan patrol stood on the bridge, staring at the trembling red lights that flashed across every screen. None of the sensors made sense. None of the readings matched anything known. It was as if space itself was changing shape, as if something powerful was pushing reality aside. The crew whispered in fear, their voices thin and soft, like they were afraid the universe might hear them. Shell tried to speak with confidence, but even he felt a tightness in his chest. "Report," he ordered. The words sounded small. "We don't know what is coming," the sensor officer said. His hands shook over the controls. "But it is bending gravity like it is nothing. The distortion is human-made. Maybe. Data is unclear." The bridge grew quiet. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. They liked to stay inside their own space, behind their strange borders. They did not travel far. They did not explore much. And most species preferred it that way. Humans were unpredictable, emotional, and famously stubborn. Sometimes brave, sometimes violent. Always strange. But even with all that, humans never created anything that could cause a warning like this. The ship arrived a moment later. Space cracked open like glass. A tear of blinding white light cut the darkness, and something pushed through. The Varan crew gasped as a vessel emerged, smooth, silver, and silent. No engines glowed. No signals blinked. It drifted forward as if pulled by invisible threads. The hull was scratched and burned, as if it had survived storms no one else could imagine. Shell stepped closer to the viewing screen. "Identify that class of ship." We cannot," the officer said. "It is human design, but changed. Improved. Or damaged. I don't know. This ship should not exist." The vessel drifted, lifeless and dark. For a long moment, nothing moved. No transmissions. No energy signatures. No signs of life. Then, suddenly, the ship's lights flickered on. Just 3 lights, dim, blue, and slow, blinking like a heartbeat. The crew stared, frozen. It felt like the ship was staring back at them. Shell swallowed hard. "Open a channel." A soft hiss filled the speakers at first, only static. Then a voice emerged. It was rough, weak, and tired. But definitely human. "Varan vessel. This is Captain Elias Ward of the Earth Starship Resolute. I am requesting immediate assistance." The bridge crew exchanged frightened looks. Shell did not understand why fear filled the room, but he felt it too, something about the man's voice. It sounded like someone who had seen things no living being should ever see. "Captain Ward," Shell said calmly. "Your ship has no life signs. Are you alone?" There was a long pause. "Yes," the human answered. "I am the only one left." A chill rippled across the room. It was not unusual for humans to die in exploration missions, but something felt different here. Something darker. "What happened to your crew?" Shell asked. Ward breathed out slowly, the sound heavy with exhaustion. "We encountered something. A silence in space. A place where even our systems did not know how to exist. At first, we thought it was simply dark matter. But it was alive. Or at least, aware." The lights on the human ship flickered again, faster this time, as if responding to the human's words. "It took my crew," Ward whispered. "Not killed. Not destroyed. Taken. Emptied. They died without a sound." Fear spread across the Varan bridge, creeping into every corner. Shell tried to keep his voice steady. "Captain Ward, what exactly did you encounter?" The human voice cracked. "Something that should not be in this galaxy. Something that is coming. And my arrival is the only warning I could give." The bridge lights flickered. Everyone turned to the screens. The sensors began to scream, sharp tones, one after another, rising like panic. Strange energy waves hit the ship, invisible but strong enough to shake the hull. "It followed me," Ward said quietly. "I could not outrun it." Shell felt his heart slam inside his chest. "Is it attacking us?" "Not yet," Ward said. "It watches first. It learns." The Varan ship trembled again. Then something new appeared on the screens, a dark shape forming behind the human ship. Not a vessel. Not a creature. Just a patch of absolute black, darker than space, as if it ate light itself. The crew stepped back from their stations, trembling. Ward's voice lowered to a whisper. "Do not let it touch your minds. That's how it begins." The darkness grew, stretching like a shadow with no source. The Varen hull groaned under unseen pressure. Every nerve in Shul's body screamed to run, to hide, to fight, anything. "Captain Ward," he said, "what is that thing?" Ward answered with words that made every member of the crew feel suddenly cold. "I don't know its name. But I know why it is here. It wants to understand humans. It thinks we are different. It thinks we are dangerous. And that scares it." The bridge fell silent. Shul realized something terrible. If a creature like that feared humans, then humans were far more powerful than anyone in the galaxy had ever believed. The shadow behind the human ship did not move like anything alive, yet it felt alive. It stretched and folded, almost as if testing the space around it. The Varen crew held their breath. Even the hum of the engines sounded too loud, like the ship itself feared attracting attention. Commander Shul forced himself to stay calm. "Shut down non-essential systems," he ordered. "Do it slowly. No sudden changes." The crew obeyed at once. Everyone moved with careful, controlled motions, not because Shul had commanded it, but because something inside them screamed that the darkness was watching their every action. The human ship, the Resolute, drifted closer to the Varen vessel. Its lights dimmed, then brightened again, almost like breathing. Captain Ward spoke through the channel once more. "Commander Shul, listen carefully. The thing behind me does not see the same way we do. It does not look with eyes. It listens to changes. Energy. Thought. Fear." Shul frowned. "It listens to fear?" "Yes," Ward said. His voice stayed low, but every word carried the weight of terror. "It learns from emotions. It grows stronger when fear is near." That sentence made every Varen on the bridge go silent. Some looked away from the screens. Others stared at their feet, trying to think of nothing at all. But fear was already inside them. It was too late to hide it. The darkness twitched, just slightly, but enough to make the ship tremble. Shul steadied himself and forced his voice to stay firm. "Captain Ward, how did you escape that creature long enough to reach us?" Ward hesitated. For a moment, Shul thought the human had passed out. Then Ward answered with a shaky breath. "I didn't escape it," he said. "It let me go." The bridge erupted in whispers. Shul stiffened. "Explain." "It studied us for weeks," Ward said. "It touched our minds. Gently at first. Then deeper. It wanted to know everything, every memory, every fear, every reason humans fight or survive. My crew. They couldn't handle its presence. It took them one by one." Shul felt a cold pressure build behind his eyes, as if the creature's shadow pressed against his mind. He blinked rapidly, pushing the feeling away. "Why let you go?" Shul asked. Ward answered in a quiet, broken voice. "Because it doesn't understand humans. And that terrifies it." Shul stood silent. The crew exchanged nervous looks. The idea seemed impossible. Humans were small, fragile, emotional. How could something that enormous and strange fear a single human? Ward continued. "Humans react to danger differently. Most species freeze or flee. But humans do something else." He paused. "Even when we are afraid, we think. We plan. We fight. Something about that is wrong to it. It doesn't know how to predict us." The shadow pulsed again, and for a moment, every screen on the Varen bridge went black. A sound, like a whisper, echoed through the speakers. No words. Just a low, rumbling hiss. The creature was trying to speak. Or maybe it was listening. Shul gripped the edge of his console. His voice stayed strong. "Captain Ward, we must move you aboard. Your ship is unstable. That thing may tear it apart." "No," Ward said sharply. "Do not open your doors. Do not bring me inside. If it thinks you are helping me, it will shift its attention to you. And you are not ready." The bridge fell silent. Shul felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Then what is your plan?" Ward's breathing grew heavier. "My ship still carries the memories of my crew. Their last scans. Their final brain patterns. The creature left all of it behind. Maybe on purpose. Maybe because it didn't find what it wanted." A soft beeping sound echoed through the Varen bridge, unknown, rhythmic, human-made. Ward continued. "I copied those memories into a containment file. If we can study them, maybe we can understand what that thing is. Maybe we can find a weakness." Shul realized the meaning behind the human's words. "Captain. You knew your mission became a warning." Ward let out a tired, bitter laugh. I didn't have a choice. The shadow pulsed again, and a strange wave washed over both ships. It felt like pressure without weight, like a hand brushing through the thoughts of everyone on the bridge. Several officers gasped. One collapsed to the floor, shaking. Shell reached for him. Medic. The officer on the floor whispered with a trembling voice. It looked at me. Inside my head. Ward shouted through the channel, his voice suddenly sharp and commanding. Do not focus on it. Think of something simple. Anything. Colors, numbers, music, keep your minds busy. Shell forced himself to think of the ship's docking codes, long, dull numbers that meant nothing emotional. Slowly, the pressure eased. Ward breathed heavily. That was only a touch. If it wanted to kill all of you, it would have done it already. It's testing you. Shell swallowed hard. Testing us for what? Ward hesitated again. Then he spoke in a whisper barely louder than a breath. For whether your species is worth consuming next. Or best left alone. A deep silence filled the bridge. The creature's dark form grew larger, folding and stretching like it was preparing for something. The Varen crew stood frozen. And Captain Ward's final words made them all shiver. It came after humans first. Because we frighten it. And things like this only fear what might one day destroy them. The darkness behind the Resolute did not drift away. Instead, it slowly expanded, spreading like spilled ink across the stars. Every second it grew larger. Every second it felt closer, even though it barely moved. Commander Shell's heart beat fast, but he kept his voice steady. Shields at maximum, he ordered. Distribute power across all systems. Quietly. The Varen crew worked fast but carefully. No sudden bursts of energy. No loud pulses. Everything smooth and gentle, like they were moving under the eyes of a sleeping predator. Captain Ward's voice came through the speakers again, breathless and strained. Commander, the creature is reading your energy levels. It understands motion. It understands fear. It doesn't understand strategy. That's what we have to use. Shell nodded, though the human could not see him. What do you suggest? Ward paused for a long moment, as if gathering strength. When he spoke again, his voice was weak. My ship. It won't last long. The shadow already damaged everything inside. But there's still one thing working. A data capsule. If we launch it to your ship, you'll have the crew memories. You'll know what happened before it reaches this space fully. Shell felt a cold weight settle in his chest. You want to eject it manually? That will expose you. Ward gave a tired laugh. Commander, look at me. I've been exposed since the first moment I left that silent region. I'm alive because the creature is curious. That's all. The darkness pulsed as if in agreement. A low hum spread through the Varen bridge. Not a sound outside the ship, no one heard it with their ears. It was inside their minds, like a deep thought that did not belong to them. One officer clutched his head and cried out. Another began shaking uncontrollably. A third whispered, over and over, make it stop. Make it stop. Shell snapped orders. Medical team, now. Focus your thoughts. Think of nothing emotional. He forced himself to think of dry facts, star numbers, navigation routes, maintenance schedules. Anything cold and boring. Slowly, the pressure faded. Ward's voice cut through the quiet, rough and urgent. It's testing you again. It wants to see how your species breaks. If you break like humans. Or differently. Shell tightened his jaw. We do not break easily. I know, Ward said softly. That's why I came to you first. The Varen are one of the few species who resist fear with logic. Humans resist it with anger or stubbornness. The creature hates both. Another pulse moved through space. This one stronger. The Varen ship rattled. Sparks flickered from one console. The lights dimmed, then steadied. Ward cursed under his breath. Commander, we're out of time. I'm preparing the capsule now. When you receive it, analyze the patterns immediately. Your scientists need to see what happens when a mind is drained. Shell closed his eyes for a brief second. He could hear where the conversation was going. Captain Ward. Your ship will not survive launch ignition. A long silence followed. When Ward finally spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. I know. The words hit Shell like a heavy blow. The bridge crew stared at the speakers, stunned. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others whispered in shock. Ward continued, voice steady. My crew is gone. I'm the last one left because I fought longer than the others. But I'm done running. If my warning helps another species survive, then my life is worth it. The darkness twitched sharply, almost as if reacting to Ward's decision. Shul felt the temperature drop inside the bridge, though no system had changed. The creature did not like losing its subject. "Captain," Shul said, his voice firm, "we will not let you die for nothing." Ward chuckled faintly. "Commander, trust me. Humans don't die for nothing. We make sure someone remembers." A moment later, a bright flash erupted from the Resolute. "Capsule launch detected." A Varen officer shouted. "Trajectory locked. It's heading toward us now." "Prepare to receive it," Shul ordered. But the creature reacted faster. The darkness surged forward, folding like a wave crashing silently in space. It reached toward the capsule, as if trying to wrap around it. The Varen bridge filled with alarms. The screen flickered with static. "It's trying to take the capsule," someone shouted. Ward's voice erupted across the speakers. "Shul, you must grab it now. If it learns you're saving human data, it will attack you next." Shul slammed his fist on the console. "Tractor beam, soft launch, minimum energy." The beam caught the capsule, pulling it toward the Varen ship. The darkness shuddered, then it roared, no sound, no voice, just a feeling of pure rage pouring into everyone's minds. Crew members screamed. Some fainted. Lights flickered wildly. Ward shouted over the chaos, "That's it. Now you know. It doesn't just feed on fear, it hates defiance. It hates resistance. Humans resisted too long. That's why it came after us." Shul saw it then. The creature didn't just follow the human ship. It hunted it. Because a species that refuses to break is dangerous. The capsule entered the Varen docking bay. The moment it crossed the threshold, the darkness snapped back, retreating like a struck animal. But the Resolute did not retreat. It drifted forward, burned, broken, but steady. Ward whispered his last message. "Commander, take care of the galaxy. Because something out there is watching. And if humans scared it." The human took a long, trembling breath. "It will fear what you might become too." A bright light consumed the Resolute. The human ship exploded. And the darkness shrieked. The explosion of the Resolute spread across space like a bright, brief star. When the light faded, only drifting metal remained. The silence that followed felt heavy, as if the universe itself mourned the human who had died to deliver a warning. But the darkness did not stay silent. It moved. Slowly at first, curling and twisting like smoke, then sharply, like something furious had been struck and wanted revenge. The Varen bridge trembled from the psychic pressure flowing off the creature. Commander Shul gripped his chair, holding his mind steady. "Report," he said, though his voice shook slightly. The sensor officer struggled to breathe as he read the screens. "The creature is unstable. It is changing shape. Its energy is rising. It's angry," another officer whispered. Shul looked at the drifting debris of the human ship. "Yes." Captain Ward defied it. Humans always defy things. Everyone felt the creature's fury. The bridge lights dimmed. A low pressure filled the air, like invisible hands pressing against their skulls. Then a new alarm sounded. "Commander," a young officer shouted. "The creature is scanning us. Deep scan. It's trying to enter our minds." Shul slammed a clawed hand onto the command console. "Countermeasures, now. Activate neural dampeners." A soft blue glow filled the room as the ship's internal mind shield systems activated. They were designed for mild psychic storms, not ancient, impossible creatures, but it was all they had. The pressure decreased, but only slightly. The creature pushed harder. Some officers cried out. One grabbed the side of his head and screamed before fainting. Medics rushed to him. The air on the bridge felt tight with panic. Shul forced his thoughts into cold order. Numbers. Data. Star maps. Anything emotionless. Anything logical. He felt the pressure ease around him, but not disappear. The creature wanted something. And Shul feared it had realized that the human's capsule was now inside the Varen ship. "Commander," the officer at communications said, voice trembling, "the creature is projecting something." "Projecting what?" I don't know. But it feels like a question." "A question?" Shul stepped to the main screen. The darkness rippled, folding into strange shapes. Patterns formed, then vanished. Flashes of light, like scattered thoughts with no order. Like the beginning of language, but wrong, twisted, unfinished. "It is trying to speak," Shul said softly. The entire bridge fell silent. The creature pulsed once, and a vision struck everyone like a shockwave. The crew gasped. Some collapsed. Everyone saw the same thing inside their minds. A wide, empty void. 1,000 dead stars. A place where nothing alive had ever walked. And a single, distant shape watching them from across time. Shul staggered but did not fall. He gritted his teeth and forced his eyes open. It's showing us where it comes from. The vision faded. The crew lay gasping on the floor. Medics rushed between them, giving injections to stabilize their minds. One officer whispered shakily, "Commander. Why show us that?" Shul understood more than he wanted to. Because it wants us to know it is not alone. A cold silence spread through the room. Then the ship's intercom chimed. "Commander," said Chief Scientist Raval from the analysis lab, "we have secured the human capsule. It is intact. And there is something inside it. Something we need to show you immediately." Shul did not hesitate. "I'm on my way." He left the bridge and walked quickly through the corridor. The lights flickered above him, reacting to the creature's psychic presence outside. Even here, far from the viewing windows, he felt the pressure, like a headache deep inside his skull. When the doors opened to the lab, he saw the capsule resting on a heavy table. Blue containment fields surrounded it. Raval stood beside it, pale and frightened. "What is inside?" Shul asked. Raval gestured to the large screen. "The crew memories, Commander. They are not just data. They are recordings of the last moments before the humans died." Shul nodded slowly. "Show me." Raval hesitated. "Warning, it may be disturbing." "It already is," Shul said. "Play it." The screen lit up. The recording began inside the human ship. The crew looked tired and scared. They spoke softly, whispering about strange noises. One human said he felt something inside his head. Then the lights on the ship went out. A shadow crawled across the floor. It took shape like a long, thin ripple. One of the humans walked too close, and in an instant, the shadow reached out like a hand and touched the side of his head. The man froze. His eyes went blank. His knees buckled. He dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. The shadow grew thicker, hungrier. The crew screamed. Shul forced himself not to look away. The vision ended with Captain Ward dragging himself into a corridor, barely conscious. His voice shook as he recorded the final message. "If you find this, do not let the creature learn your fears. It feeds on them. It grows from them. But if you show it defiance, if you show it what humans show in the face of death, it becomes confused. Angry. Weak, maybe. I don't know. But never stop resisting. Never stop thinking. Never stop fighting." The recording ended. Raval looked at Shul with trembling eyes. "Commander. That thing learned everything about humans. And it still couldn't break them completely." Shul exhaled slowly. "Yes. And that is what scares it." The ship suddenly shook. Alarms blared. The creature had made its move. It was no longer observing. It was attacking. The first impact hit the Varan ship like a silent hammer. No sound. No explosion. Just a deep, crushing force pressing against the hull from every direction. The floor shook so hard that Shul had to grab the lab table to keep his balance. Red alarms flashed. The lights dimmed to a faint orange. Somewhere deep in the ship, metal groaned like it was bending. Raval shouted over the noise. "Commander, the creature is compressing space around us." Shul rushed for the door. "Seal the capsule. Transfer all copies of the human data to protected storage." Raval nodded, hands moving fast. "Done." Shul ran into the corridor, the pressure building with each step. It felt like the air was pushing against him, trying to slow him down. The intercom crackled. "Commander Shul, bridge here. We are under direct psychic assault. Shields are failing." "I'm on my way," Shul said. But before he reached the bridge, the creature struck again. The corridor lights flickered, then went dark. A deep low vibration passed through the ship, like the creature was humming with hunger. A heavy wave hit Shul's mind, so strong that he staggered to one knee. Images flashed inside his head, shadows, eyes, emptiness, dead stars. Like the creature was pouring its memories into him. "No," Shul growled. He forced his mind to focus on logic, numbers, simple sequences. It was the only shield he had. The pressure weakened just enough for him to stand. He reached the bridge doors and pushed inside. The bridge was chaos. Half the screens were dark. Officers lay unconscious on the floor. Others clung to their stations, sweating, trembling, fighting to keep their minds under control. The massive viewing window showed the shadow creature outside, closer than ever. It surrounded the ship like a blanket of black fog, but with strange shapes curling and twitching inside it, like limbs or thoughts or both. Shell shouted, "Status." The sensor officer, pale but conscious, answered. "The creature is draining our energy shields. It's trying to pull us into its mass." "Engines?" Shell asked. "Barely functional." The ship lurched. Something slammed against their port side, invisible but heavy. Sparks flew from a console behind Shell. Another officer yelled, "Commander, it's attacking at a mental level too, trying to overwhelm our minds. We're losing people." Shell looked at the crew, his crew, struggling to stay conscious. Humans would fight with anger. Varen fought with logic. But the creature was pushing both to their limits. Shell knew they needed something else. "Put me on external broadcast," he ordered. "Commander?" The comm officer said in confusion. "Do it." A soft beep signaled the channel was open. The creature had no ears. No language. But it understood intention. Shell stepped forward and stared at the darkness outside. "Listen to me," he said, not loudly, but firmly. "I know what you want." The darkness twitched. "You want to understand minds," Shell continued. "You want to understand fear. You want to know why humans defy you." The darkness pressed harder against the hull. The bridge floor vibrated dangerously. "But you are making a mistake." The creature paused. Not physically, there was no body to pause, but mentally. The pressure froze. "You think fear gives you strength," Shell said. "But you don't understand what fear truly is. Humans do. And now we do too." Behind him, several officers sat up straighter. Listening. Hope creeping in. "Fear is not just pain," Shell said. "Fear is a warning. Fear is information. Fear is the first spark of survival. Humans don't freeze when they are afraid, they become sharper. Stronger." He pointed directly at the massive shadow outside. "And you fear that?" The creature recoiled. Not much. But enough. Enough to prove the human captain had been right. It feared defiance. It feared something it couldn't control. Suddenly, the massive shadow lashed out, smashing the Varen ship with another crushing wave of psychic force. Officers screamed. A console exploded in a shower of sparks. Shell fell against the railing. The creature wanted him silenced. Wanted all resistance crushed. But Shell pushed himself up and shouted over the chaos, "Navigation. Prepare the warp engine." "We can't." An officer cried. "The creature's pressure is too strong. The coils will collapse if we fire them." "We won't fire them," Shell said. "We will fake firing them." The officers turned toward him, confused and desperate. Shell explained quickly, mind racing. "If it senses a sudden spike of energy, something powerful, it will redirect its attention. It will think we're trying to escape or strike back. We can use that opening to send a burst transmission to the galaxy." "A warning," one officer whispered. "More than a warning," Shell said. "Proof. The human data. The creature's weakness. Everything." The comms officer swallowed hard. "If we transmit that, every species will know." "Yes," Shell said. "And they must." The creature struck the shields again, harder than before. The hull creaked. The ship shook violently. "We don't have long," Shell said. "Begin the false warp charge." "Charging now," navigation shouted. 5%. 10. 15. The darkness suddenly froze, as if scenting something new. Shell could feel it. The creature was confused. "Good. Transmit," Shell shouted. "Send everything." The comm panel glowed bright as data, human memories, psychic readings, recordings of the creature, blasted across the stars in every direction. At that exact moment, the creature shrieked. Not with sound. With pure psychic rage. The ship shook so violently that several officers were thrown to the ground. "Commander," navigation cried. "The creature is coming for the bridge." The lights dimmed. The air grew cold. And a shadow slipped through the walls like smoke, forming inside the room. The creature had come aboard. The shadow slipped into the bridge like a cold breath. It didn't break the walls or melt through the metal, it simply appeared, as if space itself bent to let it in. It gathered near the center of the room, forming a tall shape that flickered and stretched, sometimes almost like a figure, sometimes like nothing at all. Everyone froze. The creature had never entered a ship before. Shul felt his pulse hammering, but he stepped between the shadow and his crew. The air around him felt thick, like walking into freezing water. He could barely move, but he forced his legs forward anyway. The creature's presence washed across the room, brushing against the thoughts of every being there. Painful memories surfaced: loss, fear, weakness. Several officers clutched their heads and collapsed. Shul didn't look away from the thing. He couldn't. If he showed fear now, it would tear all of them apart. The creature pulsed once, then reached out, not with a hand, but with a tendril of pure darkness. It touched the nearest officer, lifting him into the air. The officer's eyes went wide, then blank. His limbs hung limp, like all life had been drained in an instant. "Put him down," Shul commanded, his voice shaking but loud. The creature didn't obey. It turned toward Shul. A wave of psychic force crashed into him, throwing him to his knees. His vision blurred. His heart hammered in pain. Images flashed in his mind: his childhood, his worst failures, his deepest regrets. His fears. The creature was searching inside him. Digging. Trying to understand him. Trying to break him. Shul gasped and slammed his claws into the metal floor, focusing on the cold, hard surface. Logic. Facts. Structure. That was how the Varen survived fear. But the creature dug deeper. A second wave hit him, worse than the first. Shul felt his memories scatter. His breath came in shallow gasps. He could no longer hear the crew around him, only the creature's whisper, echoing inside his skull. "What are you?" The question vibrated through him, not spoken, but felt. Shul clenched his teeth. The creature wanted answers. It wanted to know why the Varen resisted differently from humans. Why humans had defied it. Why fear had not broken either species quickly enough. He forced himself to stand. "You want to understand us?" Shul hissed. "Then listen." The creature froze. The pressure around the bridge suddenly tightened, like the shadow was holding its breath. Shul stared directly into its shifting form. Humans fear everything. They feel it strongly. But fear sharpens them. It wakes them up. It forces them to fight. They do not break the way your prey usually breaks. The creature trembled, its black surface rippling. Shul pointed a shaking finger at his own chest. "But Varen are not human. We fear differently. We fear slowly. Quietly, and when we fear, we do not collapse, we analyze. We calculate. We survive by thinking." His voice grew louder. "And right now, we are thinking about how to kill you." A sharp pulse of rage exploded from the creature. The bridge lights shattered, showering sparks. Panels blew apart. Officers screamed and dropped to the floor. The shadow surged toward Shul, wrapping around him like a storm. He felt his mind drowning under its weight, felt his memories tearing loose. But he refused to fall. He remembered the human captain's words. Never stop resisting. Never stop thinking. Never stop fighting. Shul held on to those words like a lifeline. The creature shrieked again, this time inside his mind, slamming another wave of pressure into him. Shul's knees buckled. He dropped to one hand. But he didn't break. The creature recoiled in confusion. It did not understand how a mind could resist this long. It didn't understand stubbornness. It didn't understand discipline. It didn't understand anything that wasn't prey. The calm officer crawled to his console through the chaos. His hands shook violently, but he hit a key. "Commander." The transmission went through. "The galaxy knows." Shul felt a spark of strength return. Good. The creature felt it too. And for the first time. It hesitated. The shadow flickered wildly, losing form. It was afraid. Then something unexpected happened. A new signal appeared on the bridge screens, strong, bright, repeated from every direction. Not from the Varen ship. Not from the creature. From outside. Dozens of ships. Varen ships. They had received the warning. And they were coming. The creature shifted violently, reacting to the sudden presence of other minds, thousands of them. More targets. More fears. More unknowns. It lashed out, smashing consoles with psychic force. The hull groaned as the ship tilted to one side. "It's panicking." One officer shouted. Shul forced air into his lungs. It knows it can't control that many minds at once. It's trying to flee. The shadow ripped itself back into the air, forming a swirling mass of black fog. It spun faster and faster, shrinking inward, preparing to tear a hole in space to escape. But before it vanished entirely, it paused. And Shell heard one last whisper inside his head. Not a word. Not a threat. A feeling. Fear. Then the shadow collapsed into a thin line of darkness. And disappeared. The pressure vanished instantly. The bridge fell silent except for the groaning metal and the exhausted breathing of the survivors. Shell sank to the floor, shaking. Report. What is its direction? The sensor officer checked the last trace of energy. His voice trembled. Commander. It is heading toward inhabited space. Shell's blood went cold. The creature wasn't running. It was choosing a new target. And now the entire galaxy knew it existed. The bridge was quiet, too quiet. Only the faint hum of life support and the weak flicker of damaged lights broke the silence. Officers lay exhausted on the floor or leaned heavily on their consoles, their bodies shaking from the strain of surviving a creature that should never have existed. Commander Shell stood slowly, gripping the edge of a console for support. His body hurt. His mind felt bruised. But he was alive. And the creature was gone. For now. The sensor officer wiped blood from his forehead. Commander. The creature's energy trail is already fading. We lost its exact direction. Approximate heading, Shell said. The officer hesitated. Toward the inner galaxy. Toward populated systems. A cold weight settled in Shell's chest. Billions of lives. Hundreds of species. None of them prepared for what the Varen had just faced. But now they all had the warning. Shell straightened. Open long-range communications. I need to speak to the fleet. The comm officer, still shaky but determined, nodded and opened the channel. A moment later, dozens of Varen captains appeared on the cracked holodisplay. Some looked confused, others afraid. A few wore expressions of anger born from the fear the creature had pressed into their minds. Shell spoke clearly, though his voice was tired. Captains. The creature that attacked us has fled. It is wounded. But it is not defeated. Murmurs rose through the connections. It is heading toward inhabited space, Shell continued. And it will look for species to test, study, consume. It will try to break minds and learn from them. One captain stepped forward in the display. Commander Shell, your transmission shared human memory data. What are your conclusions? Can the creature be destroyed? Shell looked at the dark space outside the bridge, remembering Captain Ward's final moments. I believe it can, Shell said. But not by a single ship. Not by a single species. Humans fought it with defiance. Varen fought it with logic. It struggled with both. That is why it fears us. Another captain asked, then what do you propose? Shell took a slow breath. We form the first joint defense force in our history. Varen, humans, and any species willing to stand against something that feeds on fear. The creature is powerful, but it cannot read what it cannot understand. It is confused by courage. Confused by strategy. Confused by unity. The captains listened closely. If we combine our strengths, Shell said, voice growing louder, we can defeat it. The channel erupted in discussion, some agreeing, some hesitating. Shell waited until they settled. Then he added something none of them expected. And humans must be part of this alliance. They have faced the creature longer than any of us. They have survived what none of us have. Their captain died giving us this knowledge. Silence filled the channel as the Varen captains considered that. Finally, one nodded. Then another. And another. Within seconds, all ships confirmed. The first interspecies defense pact was born. The galaxy would remember this moment. Shell let out a long breath. Relief mixed with grief. The human who had warned them never got to see this alliance, but it existed because of him. Set a course, Shell ordered his crew. We will regroup with the fleet and prepare search patterns for the creature's trail. The navigation officer spoke with new strength. Course set. The ship slowly turned, engines rumbling back to life. The stars shifted across the display as they aimed toward safer space. But before they jumped, the comm panel beeped sharply. Commander, the officer said, we're receiving a priority message. Human channel. Shell's eyes widened. Put it through. The screen flickered for a moment, then resolved into the face of a human admiral. Her expression was stern but full of controlled emotion. This is Admiral Mara Holt of the Terran Defense Council, she said. We received your transmission. All of it. Shell bowed his head slightly. Admiral, Captain Ward. We know, she said quietly. He was one of our best. She paused, her eyes drifting slightly, as if remembering someone she cared about. Then her expression hardened. Commander Shell, humanity owes your ship our gratitude. Without your actions, that creature would have reached us without warning. Shell shook his head. Without Captain Ward, we would never have known anything. He saved us all. The Admiral nodded. And we intend to honor that. The humans will join your alliance. We are already preparing ships and research teams. We will fight this thing together. Shell felt something warm in his chest, a rare feeling for a Varen. Hope. The Admiral continued, your data shows the creature reacts to resistance, confusion, and emotional unpredictability. Humans can provide plenty of that. The corner of Shell's mouth twitched, a Varen smile. I look forward to working with your people, he said. And we with yours, the Admiral replied. Together, we might just have a chance. The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge again, but this time it was different. Not fear. Not shock. Purpose. The navigation officer looked at Shell. Commander. What do we call this creature? The galaxy will need a name. Shell thought about the shadow, the fear, the defiance, the way it recoiled when resistance grew. He answered quietly, call it the Void Mind. The name fit. A creature born from emptiness. A creature hungry for thought. A creature that feared those who refused to break. Engage the jump, Shell ordered. The engines roared. Light filled the bridge. And the Varen ship leapt into the stars, not running from the Void Mind, but racing toward the future the human captain had died to protect. A future where the galaxy would stand together. A future where humans and Varen would fight side by side. A future where even the darkest shadow in the universe would finally learn something new. Some species do not break. They rise.